Well, good afternoon again from Rory of NSA Global Security Consultants. Today, being Monday, was always going to be the start of a pretty big week for lockdown in South Africa. Why do I say that? Well, Friday and the weekend that followed it was kind of a dress rehearsal. But here we are on the first day of the first week, full week of lockdown, while the government, the community, all of us, the law enforcement forces and our private security officers are really still trying to figure all of this out. We saw extended public transport measures announced by the Minister of Transport, primarily in order to get especially the elderly and South Africans living with disability to the social grant payout points early. So today and tomorrow are dedicated to those two groups, to the elderly, and they are very much at risk. They're one of the most high-risk groups in South Africa, as well as those living with a disability, to get them there early, to spread the load a little bit. But what happened? Queues started to form way before opening time. Social distance was not maintained. And then both the post office and some of the supermarkets that are accredited SASSA Payout Terminals ran out of cash. There was quite a devastating interview with a lady in Cape Town who said that she'd had to borrow money to travel in to one of these payout points at a retail outlet, only to find that they ran out of money. So she crossed the road, went to the post office. While queuing there, they also ran out of money. And she'd had to borrow money to get there. Now she doesn't have any food at home and doesn't know how she's going to get back tomorrow or the next day to queue again for that social grant payout. So, as I say, we're still figuring it out. Wherever there is a social grant payout site, it will automatically mean that security and law enforcement is required there. Because we've had criminals attacking the elderly in the past, we've had cash in transit heists. Criminals know, they're not stupid. They know where to target. They know where to look for victims. And thankfully, we haven't received too many reports of that happening. What we have, however, received is the first lockdown-related death, where an Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department officer as well as a security officer are currently in custody for the shooting of a civilian. Indications are that the police were attacked and therefore they responded. But why were they attacked? They were attacked because people either don't understand or don't agree with the lockdown regulations, and there is resistance to it. And speaking as both a former police officer as well as a private security officer that is used to working in crowds, for example, sporting events, what you don't want is frustrated spectators coming into a sports stadium. Similarly, you do not want frustrated community members resisting the cops. And as the president stated when he deployed our military and our police services, he said, don't go out there with an aggressive attitude. Go out there with a friendly attitude. But that's not always reciprocated, number one. And number two, people's patience runs out. A second ramification of all of this friction and non-compliance is that security officers and cops will become fatigued. It's not such a big deal in terms of security officers because they are paid per shift worked. But police officers primarily are paid a monthly salary. And if their fatigue becomes such that they need to book off sick or book off work, that fatigue then gets transferred onto those colleagues of theirs that need to pick up the workload. And what we could face over 3 weeks is a lot of unnecessary booking off work and overloading of the resources that are fit and able to work. But there's always good news. And I think that the good news in this environment could well be that if we get through this week of social grants payouts and we get our elderly with enough money to be able to buy groceries to keep them and their families fed, and even if there is transmission, and it's likely that there will be, then at least we've still got, from this coming Friday, we've probably still got 2 full weeks, 14 or 15 days of the lockdown. And if we can figure out all of this stuff that we're jointly trying to figure out, and people do then start to obey the regulations towards the end of lockdown, well, we stand a much better chance of having got a lid on potential transmission of the disease. So to all of you, and to especially our colleagues in the police and in the private security, once again, be safe. Tomorrow we'll be starting a series focusing on corporate security, and especially on gated and guarded communities, and how security has changed, how it has shifted in these lockdown times. So stay tuned and make sure that you listen tomorrow and in the days that follow. Thank you for listening today.